Good evening, guys. How are you? Angelo with you, spiritual guide, massage therapist, and a tarot consultant. As you know, before this video, I already made two blogs, where I briefly gave information about tarot cards, and in the second video, I gave you brief information about the mineral crystals and their benefits for our body, mainly for our soul, for our spiritual world. So, today, in this video, as I promised, I'm going to give you a closer introduction, and we're going to take a closer look at tarot cards. And actually, as an example, I'm actually going to do for you a small reading. One of my clients asked me to do a small reading for her, and the circumstances going on between her and her young man. Well, the thing is that I know her. I've known her for a very long time, but I don't really know him because, like, they just met, as she told me briefly, and she wants to know how the situation is going to be developing and whether actually it's worth to go for this person, or it's better just to go out and look for someone else, or just let it go with the flow. So that's why I decided that today I'm gonna fill out her favor. I'm gonna keep my promise to her and do a small reading. And also, by giving this reading, I want to give you some example and a closer look how it actually looks, how the tarot reading session usually takes place. As usual today, right now here, I'm having my two favorite decks. I'm not using my advanced Scarabeo deck, but I'm using my Walter White decks, my favorite decks, for the reading. But I specifically asked her which deck she preferred, because it's important always to ask your clientele or your friend or your family member, whoever is the person who wants to have the reading, which card they are feeling more click with. You know, because our intuition actually plays the most important part. And also, during the reading, when we do the readings, don't forget that we mainly involve our intuition into the procedure, and that's how we are able to get the answers. So therefore, today, before doing the reading, I've decided that, as I promised you earlier, in every video, I'm going to give you a brief information about the cards, about their meaning, and about their interpretation in different situations and circumstances and in different spreads. So today I'm going to give you a brief information about the three major arcanas, and after that I can already do this small reading where I'll be explaining everything. So basically, guys, now I have picked up the three cards from my favorite deck of Walter White, and I'll be giving you a brief information about these cards. As I explained you in the first video, the major arcanas usually start with 0, and then it goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 22 cards. So in tarot world, the reason why it starts with the 0 arcana but not the 1, because as I think I also explained in the first part, is that the major arcanas are actually demonstrating and representing the life cycle of a human being. And the reason why it starts with the 0 arcana is because it literally coming from the birth, like it literally is the beginning of the way of your life path. But of course, in different spreads and in different circumstances, the cards do have some slight difference in their interpretation, which is actually I'll try to explain right now. So the first card, as you can see over here, is the Fool. As we can see by the picture, which is drawn in it, the Fool is just right on the edge of the mountain, but he doesn't see that. He looks quite happy. There's a small dog out there over here, which is actually trying to warn him and pull him backwards, because the dog knows that he is standing right on the edge of the rock, and the Fool does not notice it. And that's the representation of this card, and this is the metaphor. But let's get to the real interpretation of the card. The Fool usually represents the beginning or the end of some situation, some circumstance, or some period of life. But also, when it represents a certain situation, it usually means a situation without a control, a chaotic situation. Why? Because Fool is usually not aware of all the danger, and he's just, relying on his own instincts, and he is like living along the life without any cares, like carelessly. But that's the dangerous part about this. The Fool usually represents, as a person, it can represent a very kind-hearted, very naive person, but at the same time, the person who can get in trouble most of the time because of his kindness. So it also shows, as I said earlier, the meaning of the card is actually the beginning or the end of some specific circumstance or situation in life. And when it comes to situation, it can be uncontrollable situation, the situation that you might face in your life if you get to have this card in your spread is out of your control. That's the meaning of the Fool. By the way, some tarot readers and tarot consultants do tend to read the upside down meaning of the cards, but I don't do that. And the reason why I don't do this because I think the upside down meaning of the cards are nothing, again, personally, my opinion, but more complication for the reader and for the person, because the upside down interpretation actually appeared much later than the tarot appeared by itself. And the first tarot cards that actually were popular in Europe at the beginning of the 16th century, or between 14th and the 16th century, were Marseille cards. That was the tarot deck of Marseille. And the Marseille deck did not have a specific cartons or specific images in the cards, and there were only specifically the wands would represent only like the wands, the knight, the swords would be drawn only as swords, so you wouldn't be able to actually understand the meaning of the cards in an easy way as you could probably do this with the Walter White cards, because Walter White tried his best to represent the situation and his cards in the illustration of his cards. So, going back to the interpretation of the cards. Now we are going up to the first arcana, which is the Magician. Okay, a lot of people think Magician has something to do with magic because that's the name of the card, but in fact it has nothing to do with the magic. As we see, the card of the Magician, he's got on the table, he's got all the four messages of the card, like the pentacles, the swords, the wands, and also the cups. And in his hand he's holding the wand, which means that he is in charge, he's in control of all these mats. So in other words to say, the Magician means the control and the power over the situation. And if this card comes up to you, it means that you should take the control of the situation, in any kind of situation, in your hands. You should take the control of the situation in your hands if you want the situation to basically end up in a way that you want it to end up. When it comes to business, the card also represents a professionalism. Like whoever is like involved into this business or what kind of business is doing, the person knows exactly what he's doing and is really good at it. And the general meaning of the card, or before the general reading of the card, I would say that in personal life, the card means big respect, big feeling towards the person. But usually this card would mainly represent the friendship, love based on the friendship rather than the emotional or like the love like people might feel for one another. So the general meaning of the card is the power and control. So if you get to have this card in your spread, and if this card represents an action that you have to do, you gotta take control of the situation and make sure that you do everything in your hands to make the situation end up in the way that you want it to end up. The third card, and for today is the last card, is right over here, and this is the Empress. The Empress is the first representation of the feminine energy. First of all, Empress means an energy of a woman. The Empress, the interpretation of this card is actually basically very, very positive. There's nothing really negative about it, because it means abundance, it means the progress, it means the development, and also, in some cases, it can also mean the pregnancy. If you're doing a reading for a woman, for some ladies, sometimes it can mean pregnancy, depending on the cards that this card is surrounded by. But the general meaning of this card is actually an abundance, a big progress, and development. So basically now I just gave you a brief information of the first 3 major arcanas and their meanings. Now I'm going to prepare my cards on my small table for the reading, so that I could do the reading for my friend and you could actually be the witness of it.